Explosive and chilling new details surrounding the second assassination attempt of Donald Trump. Ryan Routh in federal court, where a judge ordered him held in jail pending trial. The would-be assassin apparently made a jailhouse phone call saying he was sorry. And that's on top of a disturbing letter Routh allegedly wrote months ago, making it crystal clear his intention to kill former President Trump, and even offering a bounty to anybody willing to finish the job. We also found out today how Routh was casing the joint with cell phone records, putting him near Trump's golf club and Mar-a-Lago residence on multiple days and times between August 18th and the day of the attempted assassination. He also had 6 cell phones and license plates at the time of his arrest. Meanwhile, rapper 50 Cent is sharing his thoughts on Trump's first brush with death and why it resonates with so many men.
Just this fight. Right, and that's exactly what I did after I got shot. I just went into fight mode. People identify with it that way.
Explain this letter, Judge Jeanine. So this guy writes this letter to a friend, and then the friend opens this letter right after this assassination attempt, and then the FBI airs the letter?
Okay. I don't understand it. All I know is that he took a box with letters in it to a female, all right? The female says she first thought about opening the box when she heard that Ryan Routh had attempted to assassinate the president. Now, I also understand that there are other letters in the box. This initial letter is apparently apologizing for not actually killing his intended victim. So my question is, are there other letters that indicate that if he did accomplish the goal that he set out to do, do they do something else? I want to know about all the other letters. I want to know what the relationship is. And you did great on your show, Jesse, and you should talk about all of the inconsistencies. This guy doesn't have money to pay child support, so they let him off of child support. He doesn't have the money to get an attorney, so we give him, of course, a taxpayer-funded attorney. But the thing that absolutely infuriates me is the fact that the Department of Justice made a decision to publish this letter, which is so incendiary. And I said last week, the left won't be happy until they put a bounty on Donald Trump's head. And they just did by publishing that letter, saying $150,000, I'll give you $150,000 if you assassinate the president. This is, talk about unhinged. This is a reason for someone who's unhinged to actually act on it. It's an outrage. And when they publish this, it's un-American by the Department of Justice. This is the Biden-Harris Department of Justice leaking this information to the public, and I think it's disgusting. Now, where did this guy get $800,000 to live in a bungalow in Hawaii? Where does he get the money to go to Thailand, Ukraine, and all the other countries that he goes to? And the Justice Department says, look, the reason we let it out is to establish intent. That's nonsense. Take it from one who knows what she's talking about. You can establish intent without publishing this, and you can do it at the time of the trial, or you can do it at the time of motion to dismiss the case. But this man is, this letter is not only a call to arms, it is telling people, I'll reimburse you if you kill him.
Jessica.
I don't understand how this happened. So first of all, I think the good news is that there's an extra $231 million for Secret Service funding to make sure that President Trump is safe in the stopgap measure for funding the government. So first and foremost, bipartisan on that. The idea that this guy could get so close to Mar-a-Lago that many times doesn't make any sense. The idea that they thought he was just a homeless person kind of loitering around. He was a known individual. He was interviewed by the New York Times. The New York Times wrote about him last year. There's no secret. People knew what he looked like. And it had been decided upon by the press, by the paper of record, that he was out of his mind. So I don't know if it's Secret Service failing, private security failing, local Palm Beach cops, whatever is going on there, it just all doesn't add up in terms of publishing what amounts to a manifesto with the call to arms, as the judge put it. That seems dangerous as well. And I hope that there's not another incident like this, but it seems like with this many levels of failure between this and what happened in Butler, that we're asking for it at this point.
Dana P.
Well, it's been kind of crazy to see so many people in the media sort of brush this second attempt off as if it was not a big deal because it didn't result in an injury. The one in Butler obviously was very visible, and it was at a rally and did kill somebody and injured 2 others and it injured the president. So then the second one happens, and really it was old news overnight. And I don't know if this is okay with you, but can I ask the judge one question?
Please.
Because it came up in my mind when you were talking about intent. Is it normal, and maybe it is, to allow somebody like Ruth to make a phone call in which apparently he says, "I'm sorry," and then they use that as evidence that he was apologizing?
Yeah, well, they can listen to phone calls. They do it all the time unless you're talking to a lawyer. And I just want to make one reference to, and that is, if you remember the manifesto of the transgender person who shot up that Christian school, the judge refused to let it out. It took a year and a half of litigation, and it showed how the plan was construed and everything else, and they said it was of grave concern. They didn't want to let it out to the public, yet this one came out. Thanks for giving me an opportunity.
I mean, yeah, that was inflammatory, they said.
Nashville.
And they didn't want to do it in here. Nothing more inflammatory than putting a bounty on the president's head.
I mean, the biggest thing, to piggyback off what 50 Cent thing, I think seeing the president, because you had a choice. He could have, no one would have faulted him for wanting to hide under that stage and stay down there and wait to get secretly covered out. But that moment, there's 2 things you do. You fight or you flight, and the president's fight is inspiring. But at this point, the gatekeeper is the one who won't lock the gate. It is time for private security, Mr. President. How many times, all these mistakes that seem to keep happening over and over again? And how do we know sorry is not the code word? How do we know that the manifesto isn't a hidden thing? All these letters, if I get caught, that sorry is mission failed. Again, they're doing the work for them. You don't see 10-minute speeches from the president or vice president or anyone condemning any type of action, of calling names or calling arms, or just saying everything that he did they do not support. So at this point, how many times you're going to stand in the same house you keep getting shot at? The Secret Service is not going to protect him. These mistakes, I don't believe in coincidences. These mistakes keep happening. And then lo and behold, his information is getting out.
Oh.
Get private security inside your Secret
But you
Service.
see, the
We're going to
problem
need
is
you to
they
stay
need-
here at Fox, though.
Both
You're not
Biden and
going to be able to
Kamala
go do
even
security
called
for the president.
The problem is you need a national security clearance because half of this stuff is coming from Iran, and they've got to share it.
You can still have the Secret Service, but when your core guys around you.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
All right, got to go ahead. Kamala thinks she can pander to alphas by having Walls play with a truck. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.